Confederate South and leader of his party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Premier has said on a number of occasions that climate change is one of the greatest challenges facing humanity, and the government must take concrete actions to tackle climate change. Mr. Speaker, most New Brunswickers agree, as I do. The recent report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, however, reminds us how urgently we must take action, concluding that limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees requires transitions in energy, transportation, buildings, infrastructure, and industry. This implies deep emissions reductions in all sectors and a significant increase in investments to get there. Mr. Speaker, can the Premier tell this House how he intends to manage this critical transition for New Brunswickers when he was unable to design a carbon pricing plan that was compliant with federal rules?
The Honourable the Premier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate the member opposite's question. I couldn't agree more that we have to all step up and do everything we can to fight climate change together, and that includes all countries across the globe, every province within our country, and of course all New Brunswickers. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, we put forward a plan that we believe will help us do exactly that, play our role to combat climate change, all the while ensuring that we can still continue the economic growth we've created together and ensure that families that are struggling to get ahead don't see even more pressure on the cost of living. Mr. Speaker, I want to ensure New Brunswickers that we have a plan that was accepted in terms of many components. We have a plan that will phase out electricity generated by coal by 2030, as the federal government wanted to see across the country. We have a plan that will invest heavily in energy efficiency with the plan, and of course we want to ask large emitters to pay their fair share, and when it comes to consumers, we want to ensure they don't pay one more cent.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, climate change is damaging the health and well-being of New Brunswickers now. We need solutions now, developed in New Brunswick by New Brunswickers. The IPCC says that the world has a dozen years to turn things around. Yet all I hear now is the Premier joining the Tories in fighting measures designed to fight climate change. Will the Premier finally commit to implementing a Made in New Brunswick carbon pricing plan, as recommended by the Select Committee on Climate Change from this House, that is compliant with federal carbon pricing rules, so we can replace the federal carbon pricing system with our own and control our own destiny? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Premier Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I agree with the member opposite that it has an impact on the health and well-being of New Brunswickers, and I would even add that studies very much show that climate change will have an impact on our economy as well. Therefore, for many reasons, including that it's the right thing to do for the next generation, but also because it's in the interest of all New Brunswickers, Canadians, and people across the globe, we need to step up to combat climate change. I won't repeat all of the components of our plan that will be moving forward and that is compliant, Mr. Speaker. When it comes to the consumer piece, I want to make something really clear here. Mr. Speaker, our argument is that the taxes on gas in New Brunswick is already one of the highest in the country. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we believe, since we have already taken action and put essentially a price on carbon by having the excise tax and the HST where it is, Mr. Speaker, that we here in New Brunswick should be able to ensure consumers not pay more. We don't think it's fair that New Brunswick consumers will pay more while somebody in Alberta will not pay as much, Mr. Speaker, as even we have at the moment, and that's why we're standing up for New Brunswick.
Member from Ranchi.